Everything seemed so terribly gloomy that I thought I'd have a go at looking at the world the other way up. But it turns out to be just the same, after all. Kappa was written shortly before Akutagawa took his own life, so when you read the story through that lens and understand how deeply reflective it was of his mental illness and worldview, Kappa immediately becomes unforgettable and bizarre and intense. Akutagawa channeled his own despair and distrust of society into this work. It's a short story, yes, but it's so provocative, it's so intense, it's so existential and even dehumanizing. Because Akutagawa comments on so many things. He comments on all aspects of life: procreation, afterlife, death, modernity, capitalization, industrialization, art, science, philosophy, throws light on just the deceitful societal norms and how they have worsened man's disillusionment and connection with life. Now, in my notes, and I took a lot of notes when I was reading this short story, I wrote that Akutagawa doesn't explicitly explain why the Kappa people are the way they are. Why do they laugh at and scorn the way that humans live and what they believe in? Then, when you read the story, you understand why. You simply just have to observe the way the Kappas live and draw your own conclusions. So, Kappa are mythical amphibian creatures from Japanese folklore. They are considered to be water spirits. So, in Japanese, they translate to river child. And the protagonist of Akutagawa's story, Kappa, is a man who gets admitted in a psychiatric hospital. So he's narrating the story of when he slipped into the world of Kappa land, like just like Alice in Wonderland. And he gets to learn and observe the way that the Kappas live, how they live and function as a society. The life of a Kappa is meant to mirror the life of man. So many strange things happen in Kappa land, and one of the strangest and most bizarre and most nihilistic, even I would say, things about characteristics of the Kappa people is that the Kappa babies must consent to be born. So the father Kappa yells into the womb of the mother, asking the fetus whether it wants to be born or not. And if the fetus says no, and the fetus in the story does give a reason as to why, and that is so hilarious. But at the same time, it's so bleak and morbid and existential that, if the fetus has no, the baby sort of magically disappears inside the belly. Depending on how you look at this and your philosophical stance, you would find this hilarious, absurd, bizarre, existential, or maybe even perfectly rational. Kappas are self-indulgent, existential, nihilistic, capitalists, and Akutagawa's writing of them and in their lives is very playful, witty, clever, but at the same time dark. He sort of balances the scales between humor and tragedy. So the story immediately becomes very entertaining, but at the same time bizarre. Another interesting thing that I thought of is that they consider figures like Nietzsche. So there is the mention of Ubermensch, that is Nietzsche's Superman, but in Kappa land it's Super Kappa. So there is a mention of that. But another thing that really stood out is how the Kappa people look up to the intellectual achievements of figures like Nietzsche, Tolstoy, Strindberg. Like they have these ideals of them in temple of sorts, which is supposed to be a very religious and pure place. So they have idols of Nietzsche, Tolstoy, Strindberg, and they look up to the intellectual achievements of them as saints. And the reasoning behind that is so, I'm not going to say it because I don't really want to spoil anything, but the reasoning behind that is also so funny, but at the same time, it's so existential and so tragic. Akutagawa doesn't leave anything behind. There is also the mention of the Garden of Eden. So, the story of the birth of the male Kappa and the female Kappa, just like the story of Adam and Eve. And another thing is that one of the Kappas is a brutal capitalist, industrialist. So, he exploits his workers. And the reason behind why he exploits them is so interesting. He says that the workers want to be exploited, that they desire it. So the greed that the workers have to accumulate wealth in Kapaland justifies that exploitation. Make of that what you will. And there's so many things in relation to that, just the way that capitalism has sunk its teeth into the Kappa society and how that manipulates and exploits the workers. It's just so brilliantly written. And like I said, you read it, you observe this society that is non existent but completely imaginary. But then at the same time, you draw so much to it to human society and the way we live. and, all the abstractions that underlie it. Everything that's tragic about the story is also humorous. And Akutagawa does want you to reflect, like think about just the bleakness, futility, uh, the indifference, the absurdity of life, but through the morbid and hilarious customs of the Kappa society, he does take the seriousness out of it. It's still serious, it's there, but you laugh at it at the same time. I mean, there is a part in the story where the ghost of a dead Kappa who had committed suicide comes back as a spirit in order to inquire about his reputation after his death. So he wants to know how the people have, reacted to his suicide and whether he's famous because of it. And in a lot of articles I read that this character is also seen as a representation of Agutagawa himself. If we live our lives by reason, then as a matter of course, we would negate our own existence. So this essentially means that to live is to defy any kind of reasoning, is to any kind of rational thinking. And this also goes back to the whole characteristic of the kappa babies consenting to be born. So that's something that Agutagawa makes you think about at the end of the story. And the little detail of the protagonist, he is referred to as patient number 26 by the doctor in the psychiatric hospital. So that little detail, this is back to Akutagawa's own experiences of mental illness and the isolation that he felt throughout his life, which only heightened towards the end of his life. And Kappa honestly feels like a conversation with Akutagawa himself. He's a man who saw the absurdity and the hypocrisy of the world and he couldn't quite reconcile himself to it. And it's so interesting to observe the Kappa society and then to reflect that back to how I perceive the way that Kappas live, because at the end of this story, there is a very interesting question that I asked myself. No other book has really evoked that in me, is that what would a Kappa scoff at looking at my life and how I live my life? What's also so strange and fascinating about this story is how it acts as a mirror, but at the same time, it distorts that very same reflection that that mirror is giving you. It's strange, existential, unsettling, and deeply personal. It just gives you that insight into what it means to be an outsider and observe and look at a world that you can't make sense of on human terms, at least. Our practice is to make a habit of standing above our own consciousness. So that was my experience of reading Kappa and my sort of introduction to the world of Kappa. Had such a great time reading it. I would have such a great time rereading it again. I read the New Directions edition. I would also recommend reading Akutagawa's The Life of a Stupid Man. It does reflect back on Akutagawa's own life, what he, the way that he looked at things, the way that he perceived things. Because I think, if I'm not wrong, the story is also about a man who is nearing the end of his life. Yeah. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you guys next time.